We know that Red Bull can be ruthless, and we predict a driver swap coming after Hungary. What is your prediction, Mick? Because we might be on a slightly little different timeline with each other, but where do you think this swap is going to come from?
Look, Red Bull merry-go-round to continue. I think come the summer break, during that summer break, there'll be a change made. Hadjar to step up, Lindblad to join Lawson in V Carb, and Yuki to be on the sidelines. Possible tie up with Honda and Aston Martin, but I don't think that'll happen either. I think this could be the end of Yuki's Formula One career, driving career for now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yuki's under a lot of pressure to perform. We haven't seen him close that gap yet with Max. Look, he's had 6 races now, so seventh one coming up for this week in Barcelona. Last couple have been pretty disappointing. It's going to come down. I think Red Bull's going to look at Lawson and they're going to look at Tsunoda because I think, I'm in agreement. They're looking at Lindblad and I think they want to look at him sooner rather than later. So it's a matter of who performs the best. Now, from Liam's perspective, I believe there's a little bit less pressure on him because they still seem, look, he's 23-year-old. He's still quite young in his Formula One career. Let's not forget, okay, yes, he came in for Ricardo, 3 years ago? 3 seasons back? 2 seasons back? And then a cameo again last year. Then obviously into his first full-time season. Yeah, we know the Red Bull disaster. 2 races, all done and dusted. But I think they see a little bit more potential in him. They know what they get with Yuki. 5th-year driver, comes in, and I think we've talked about it before. This is make or break. We always thought this was Yuki's defining season, whether he continues to have a seat. He really needs to perform this week, and particularly over these next few races, because I'm in agreement. If he doesn't, they make the swap. Hadjar promoted, probably to the detriment of his career. Hopefully not. And Lindblad comes in alongside.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore what Hadjar's doing at the moment. Simple as that. Yes, okay. People are saying that Yuki hasn't had the same equipment as Max. Well, he crashed in Imola, which then left him running old equipment in Monaco. You don't crash, man. You run the same equipment, right? And, okay, yes, maybe the race, you can't look at the race really because it was an outlier, a bit of a strange one. But qualifying, he should have done a lot better in qualifying, and he didn't. So I think you're right. They still see potential in Lawson, um, but I think they're going to leave him where he is now. And especially if they make the decision over the summer break, I don't think Lawson will get another shot at that top seat this season. Hadjar's just doing all the right things, right? And he's showing a mental toughness. He makes a mistake. We saw in Monaco, he makes a mistake, bounces back, has a banger of a qualifying session, and has a quality race. So he's showing that mental toughness, even in Imola, similar sort of thing, right? So, and yes, I think they want to have a look at Lindblad sooner rather than later because he's shooting the lights out in F2 at the moment. So, yeah, the big thing for me is what happens to Yuki. I don't want to see him leave the grid, but unfortunately, I don't think Honda has enough pull to keep him in Formula One.
Yeah, well, that's right, because we don't know the exact details regarding Yuki's current position with Red Bull in retrospect to the deal with Honda. Um, Look, all he needs to do, really, it's pretty simple. All he really needs to do is get within, say, 2 to 3 tenths of Max. That's, I think, really what his target needs to be over these next, say, 4 to 6 races.
Well, he needs to take more than 1 point, right? More than 1 point. He needs to be taking a lot more points away from the other teams, especially when it comes to the Constructors' Championship, because obviously, look, we don't think Max is going to win the title. I don't think the car's good enough. But you need to take points away in the Constructors, right? And he's just not doing that. And like you said, even if he's not 2 or 3 tenths away from Max, just be there to take points away.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. But I think they'll judge him more first on his pace. because obviously there's a lot of. I mean, you're 100% correct. He was there initially because they wanted someone, and this is why they demoted Checo, was because he wasn't getting enough points, right, in relation to what Max was doing. But I think the first thing he needs to focus on is just the race pace, qualifying pace, because that's where a lot of, you could say, comparisons are made, just because the dynamics are essentially generally the same between the drivers. Obviously, the race can be a little bit different because strategy can go the wrong way, get tied up with traffic or whatever, but I think it's going to come down more to the qualifying pace, that he just needs to be within a 2/10, 3/10 at worst of Max, at least show some sort of pace improvement. Look, I think Red Bull are patient in the sense they know the car is difficult to drive. I mean, they've had Checo complaining about it and form dropping off. Liam, obviously, with the 2 races. Yuki now with 6. So there has to be a little bit of leeway given, but the patience is definitely wearing thin. 100%.
Like even Max has come out and said the car's not that great, right? So, okay. Yes, they've said they'll give him to the end of the season, but, we know the Red Bull merry-go-round. Sign Sergio on a 2-year contract, boom, next thing he's gone. It's all, they can say what they want. It's smoke and mirrors. No one really knows what's going on in the background. I mean, look, if he can close that gap to 2 or 3 tenths, yes, he's probably going to move up the grid, but he needs to do it every weekend. He can't just be there one weekend, not the next, because yes, you're going to be compared on pace, but I still believe the biggest thing for them is points in the constructors, So, because if Max is in the shot of winning the title, Max can go off and win it on his own, right? Give him a half decent car and he's in the mix all the time. All the time. Saturday and Sunday. They need someone to help Max out.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out because, about 6 races left until this point. And I think that's enough. I mean, you got to give drivers enough time to adapt to the machinery. And we've seen that with Carlos. It took him probably, 6 races to sort of get on top of things. You sort of sense it now with Lewis at Ferrari. My only worry for Yuki's sake is from the mental side of it, because I think he's quick enough to do it. But I feel as weekends go by and he's not improving on pace, or, he's not getting the results, I think the self-doubt starts to come in. Then you'll probably start to see him overdrive the car a bit. And we know that car is not a happy car when driven over the edge. And we've already seen Yuki have a few moments. So does that sort of snowball on itself if, the next few races he loses even more confidence?
Well, that's the Red Bull curse, right? Look at every driver. Look at Daniel. Look at Sergio, right? Look at Liam. Comes to a point where mentally they just suffer, right? And then once you start to suffer mentally, it's hard to bounce back. And if you don't have confidence in the car that you're driving to drive it on the limit, you're never going to make steps forward. So, and then that's a snowball, and then that just feeds in to self-doubt and lack of confidence. What if Hadjar has, so what would we say, 6 races until Hungary?
Yeah, I believe it's, after Hungary it would have been 6 completed races.
Yeah, so Hadjar has another blinding 3 or 4 races. Yuki struggles. I mean, even the pundits on the outside will be going, it's time to make a change.
Well, we know, we've also got to remember after Silverstone, I think there's a 3-week break. And we know when there's a break or there's no race weekend, the rumors start heating up. The news stories start heating up. The drums start beating. For Yuki's benefit, we're talking about 6 races until Hungary, but I think it's 4 until Silverstone. I think really for him, these next 4 are the career-defining races of his Formula One career. They'll be the biggest races of his career, right? And he needs to get these right. Otherwise, I think that will be the end of it. Because I think Red Bull will look at it like this. They promote Hadjar. They just say to him, hey, look, don't worry about what's happened in the past. We just want you to get experience in the car, work alongside Max, see how he works. Don't stress it. You've done well. You've proven, you belong. Then you get Lindblad in, and you can basically say the same thing to him. Don't stress it. You just got the end of the season just to get some Formula One experience. We see you as a long-term proposition because, they do see him as like their Antonelli. They see how he pairs up with Lawson. And again, Lawson, it's just, you've got to the end of the season, no pressure on you, but obviously you need to perform and we reevaluate. And then they've got 3 drivers under the age of 23 that they can reevaluate at season's end and then make the move, so to speak. So if Lindblad has an absolute cracker, Hadjar maybe struggles a little bit, they could even look at Lindblad going straight into that Red Bull seat. But obviously we know a lot is going to depend on what Max does, because if Max does go, then they'll obviously be shopping for an experienced driver to slot straight in there. Like, who knows, right? It's going to be really interesting with Red Bull. Super interesting. I think there's going to be musical chairs there, and it's going to be insanity.
I just don't see Yuki having any standout weekends. Like he needs to have 4 or 5 standout weekends for the pressure to be completely off. And even Hadjar, right? Okay, Hadjar has 2 or 3 bad weekends. I think Hadjar's already pushed the door in.
He's shown enough. He can have a couple of offs. That's fine. He's definitely shown enough. On the flip side, though, and again, this is all just pure speculation. If Lawson has the next 4 weekends where they're just substandard, then that whole pressure just flips straight onto Lawson. And then maybe Yuki is just, he's there to the end, and then they make that swap with Lindblad with Lawson. Because, that's still a possibility. Obviously, my bias is like, I don't want that to happen, of course. And we both discuss it. We feel Lawson is getting his mojo back, and he's, Monaco was a nice, clean weekend for him, and we think he can build on from that. So it's going to be, super interesting how this all plays out, because there's a lot of little moving dynamics there, and it can just really go either way. But yeah, Yuki and Lawson to a lesser extent, the eyes are going to be on them come midsummer break.
I think Lawson, he's probably been given a little bit of grace until the summer break. But after the summer break, he needs to come out firing, reset, and really put the hammer down. I think he will have another season in V-Carb. And then, whatever happens. Like you said, if Max leaves, then there's 2 seats. So it could be Lawson and Hadjar in the big team.
Yeah, I couldn't see it purely because I think Red Bull has enough pull to bring in a proper, established, experienced driver. And I think that's probably where they would go. But yeah, it'll be interesting because on the flip side, again, there's so many variables here. What if, okay, I'll throw a question to you. Let's say the remaining of the season, Lawson outperforms Hadjar. Yuki, obviously, things don't improve for him. Do they then go for Lawson over the top of Hadjar back into that main Red Bull seat?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll give Lawson another year in V-Carb. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve another shot and he won't get another shot, but I think for now, I think he will probably be overlooked.
Yeah, at this point, for sure.
Yeah.
But let's say Lawson, let's say by the end of the season, Lawson has I'm just going to throw out an arbitrary number. Let's say he has 30 more points than Hadjar at the end of the season. Let's say he's completely turned the season around, flipped it, out-qualified him for the majority of the rest of the season, outperformed him. You still think they'd go for Hadjar over Lawson at that point?
Yeah, I think they'll have a look at Hadjar again before they look at Lawson. Unfortunately, if that was the case, then yes, I want Lawson in the big seat because I don't think he's done there yet. His ceiling is still so high when you compare it to someone like Yuki. Yeah, I think for now and possibly next year, I think he'll be overlooked, and I'd say Hadjar will be the next man up. Anything can happen over the rest of the season. So, although based on current form, Hadjar he's doing enough. He's doing enough, and I see that continuing, right? Because he's only going to get better with each race weekend, because you've got to remember it's still only his first season, full season in Formula One. So I believe he's still only going to get better. And I think, yeah, just unfortunately for Liam, for now and possibly next season, he's going to get overlooked for Hajar.
Yeah, yeah. No, I could run with that, and I could see that happening. And like you mentioned, what we love about Hajar is his ability to have an accident or have a poor showing, but be able to then bounce back from that. And I think that's going to bode really well for him. Yuki, obviously, yeah, we've just talked about it, but I think his experience counts against him because they know what he's got, they know his ceiling, they know where his potential is. And yeah, unfortunately, I think that's going to be at his detriment. So yeah, let's see how it plays out. I mean, it's all crystal ball stuff. We're talking about this. It's crazy to think we're talking about this not even halfway through the season.
That's the world we live in, right? That's Formula One. It's the wheels are in motion 24 hours a day. The pressure's on every single driver. There's nowhere to hide. The clock doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, well, if you're watching this, we'd love to know what your comments are. So leave a comment down below and share your opinion because everyone's got one, of course. And some of them, some can be quite wild but entertaining. But yeah, go for it. But until then, we'll catch you on the next one.